By the power of Greyskull, this movie is an absolute treat. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be a huge fan of the He-Man or Masters of the Universe franchise because honestly, I'm not. I only became a fan earlier this week as I just started the original cartoon in order to prepare for this movie. However, after looking at the few episodes of the original cartoon that I did check out and looking at the movie side by side, I'm glad to say that the movie actually does a really great job at adapting the original cartoon for He-Man. It manages to capture the vibe that the original cartoon from the late 80s had while also finding a way to bring it into a modern world for modern audiences without ruining any previous or established lore. It's as if the movie isn't afraid to be itself or is not ashamed of what came before. Now for the plot itself, the movie takes a different approach to He-Man or Adam's origin story from the original cartoon, where in that cartoon, he already had his powers, everything and everyone was already established. So it was just a matter of good versus evil within that episode. But now in this movie, they kind of take a Superman mixed with Thor origin story approach for He-Man. The Superman aspect of it being that he got sent to Earth while his homeworld was under crisis or danger. And the Thor aspect of it all being that he has a magical weapon that's tied to his powers. And this approach to his origin story does give the movie the feeling of having a fish out of water per se, but thankfully, this movie doesn't focus too much on Adam being in the human world because this movie knows what you came here for, and that's to see Eternia. And speaking of Eternia, they actually do a good job at showing that Eternia is a separate planet, because nowadays in most pieces of fiction, such as Star Wars for example, we'll get a brand new planet that's never been introduced before up until that point. However, when we get to that planet in Star Wars, it'll just be one building or one castle or one ship station, and we never get to see the rest of that planet. So they kind of waste planets there. But here in this movie, we get to see the entirety of Eternia. We get to see not only Castle Greyskull, but the regular palace. We get to see caves and swamps and some forest scenes too. And this just gives the planet of Eternia the feeling that it's a natural living planet. And it's good to finally see all these things here in this movie because it makes the planet Eternia feels more alive, like it's an actual natural planet with more than one spot to go to. As for the characters themselves, they were executed perfectly. Everything from their vibe and personalities to their character designs, which was ripped straight from the original cartoon itself, all the way down to the purposefully corny but fun dialogue. All the way down to the purposefully cheesy but fun dialogue. It was just perfect. And not only were the protagonists of this movie done perfectly, but the villains were as well. Skeletor was actually intimidating here. His eyes were red to show you that he's truly evil, and his voice was pretty deep and scary at times. His minions were also very threatening and menacing as well. And they gave the same treatment to the rest of Skeletor's minions, such as Evelyn, Beastman, and even Trapjaw, who were all kind of lame characters in the original series from what I've seen so far. Not lame in the sense that they're not good characters, but their fighting skills weren't all that. But for this movie, they modernized all their powers and actually made them more scary and more intimidating, especially with Trapjaw. But the character that they did most perfectly out of both sides of good and evil was Evelyn herself. Evelyn in this movie looks and sounds just as she did over 40 years ago in the original cartoon. It was perfect. Everything down to the last minute detail. Just perfect. There wasn't a single character in this movie that I found annoying or felt like they could have gotten rid of, nor did any character in this movie hold the movie back. And speaking of executing characters really well, this movie does a great job at showing why they titled it Masters of the Universe rather than just He-Man or He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. And the reasoning behind that is because although He-Man is the main character, this movie isn't afraid to give the other side characters within Eternia their own shine. Side characters such as Terra, Man-at-Arms, Sorceress, Mechanic, who I haven't seen in the cartoon yet, and Fisto, and even Ram Man all get their own shine. And it's not some lousy 30-second fight scene. They actually get character growth and arcs, and they actually get full-on action scenes that last a few minutes. And this just goes back to the idea that these are the Masters of the Universe, but not only that, but this shows that they're all in this together as a team, and it's not just solely about He-Man. But it's also about Eternia itself. Overall, I give Masters of the Universe a 9 out of 10 score. The only thing holding this movie back from a perfect score is Adam's life on Earth. As we seen in the trailer, we kind of just see that he has a time skip to his adulthood before he returns to Eternia. But in the movie itself, they don't really show who helped Adam out when he first landed on Earth. He doesn't really have a guardian or a parent from Earth itself. They just show him in the adult world right away. So if they had just shown in the background a little picture frame of him and his Earth parents or guardians during the movie while he was on Earth, then that would have made it better and answered the question of who helped Adam out when he first arrived to Earth. But other than that, this was a really amazing adaptation. It was really a treat for old fans and new fans like myself. Also, I haven't seen one lick of bad CGI in this whole film. Now, you're gonna have those weirdos online who watches the movie in 0.5 speed and they're gonna notice the most smallest detail of animation. But if you just watch it like a normal person who has an actual social life, then you could really see the beauty behind this movie, and you could just see how much the creators of this movie really love the He-Man franchise. Also, side note, this is just me hoping here, but if this movie is super duper successful, this might open the doors to maybe a Thundercats movie with the same exact vibe of this movie, because that's also another cartoon that came out around the same time as He-Man did. So it would be great to see a Thundercats movie, but this movie has to be very successful. And I think it will be going forward. And who knows, maybe someday if things are crazy successful, they might even have a He-Man and Thundercats crossover. So that's going to be about it for this review of Masters of the Universe. As always, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button along with the notification bell to get notified when I make more videos. And if you have seen the movie, let me know how you felt about it, or if you feel anything different about it in the comments down below. If you haven't seen the movie yet, I highly recommend you go do, especially if you were hesitant before. It's really worth it, I promise you. Until then, see you guys later.